This is the We Witches 3 podcast, where you will hear the opinion of 3 seasoned witches who are tired of glossy, tunnel vision, love and light accolades about serious metaphysical topics. Your host, Charlene, Maria Sewell, and Heather Woodworth have been practicing witches and professional psychics for over 20 years. They not only have the experience, but they have the research to back it up. So get comfortable on your brooms, grab a snack, and get ready for a wild ride.
Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast, and today we're talking about spiritual bypassing because it's bad, and we like to talk about bad things here on We Witches 3, and we like to complain about things because we're old and we're grumpy and jaded.
Yeah, so pull up a chair and learn some shit. So, of course, we should start off with what is spiritual bypassing. It's the idea that you will progress spiritually and have more happiness in life if you do not focus on negative things. That's kind of it in a nutshell. And that ties in with a lot of law of attraction thinking where, you focus on the good things and the good things will come to you. And if you unfortunately focus on bad things, then bad things will come to you. And then if you avoid dwelling on the bad things, then you will be much happier.
Only positive, good, love, and light things will happen to you always, unless you bring them in and it's your fault if something bad happens to you, because you are the keeper of your own destiny.
Yes. This has been, the term spiritual bypassing was coined back in the 1970s. I forgot the guy's name who coined it, but it's been around for a while now, and it originally started out as a psychological term where, when the self-help movement really got started and, visualization and the law of attraction really took off.
To ignore your emotions and your mental health just to act like if you're happy or try to push yourself to be happy, that's going to give you a nervous breakdown, I would say. Because nothing ever goes to plan, guys. Nothing. I don't care. I'm a Sagittarius, and quote unquote, we're supposed to be the luckiest sign in the zodiac. And yeah, I have lucky moments, but not. They balance themselves out, to put it lightly. Like I've had some really bad moments in my life, so I've always learned to not ignore them, and that makes me feel better when I don't ignore them.
Is the guy you're talking about Robert Augustus Masters? Because there's a book that I downloaded yesterday, actually, strangely enough, that I found that's called Spiritual Bypassing When Spirituality Disconnects Us from What Really Matters.
I'm so terrible names, but I think his name was Jonathan. Yeah, John Wellwood.
John Wellwood, okay.
A Buddhist teacher and psychotherapist.
Okay, so this isn't somebody different.
Yeah.
Oh, this was published in 2010. Okay.
Robert Augustus Masters, PhD, is a really popular author.
Oh, he
on
is?
The topic.
Okay.
Yeah, he really is. So he's written a bunch of articles, done a lot of research, and has one of the most popular books out there. A couple, actually. So one of the big problems with spiritual bypass, I think Maria summed it up really nicely, is that you end up denying a whole, half of your existence by doing that, by pretending it just isn't there. And it does, exactly like Maria said, lead to lots and lots of breakdowns, blaming yourself for having negative feelings. And in a society that doesn't favor emotions to begin with, it's just really a toxic trap.
You have people that will tell you that, oh, well, if you're having this negative experience, why are you creating it for yourself? It's not just what you're doing to yourself. It's that people, especially light workers and, love and light kinds of people who are always in the light and always happy, they will tell you your thoughts are obviously sabotaging you. So whatever you did it to yourself, and you should learn the lesson. And you obviously called that in for some reason, and you're just not doing the work.
Yes, and if you could just do the work, then you could let it go, and then you will never have to feel this emotion again.
Right. Ever, ever, ever.
Ever. Ever. So that's when, you tie spiritual bypassing to the law of attraction gospel, I guess I'm going to call it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets really, really toxic because it's all about denying your emotions. You're blamed for your experience because you cannot control your emotions. So all your experiences are your own fault. And if only you could control your emotions and deny them a little bit better than what you're doing, then maybe you wouldn't suffer so much. Also, please don't talk to us about it because you're dragging us down.
Right, you're bringing us into your negativity bubble.
Yeah, I can't handle this negativity right now. You need to just get out of my space and leave my energy alone.
I got a smudge.
Yeah, I got a smudge.
With my sage from Whole Foods.
Yes, with the doors closed.
Right.
So the demons have to stay inside. With me. We're just moving from meme to meme right now, guys.
Right.
We'll have to put this up on the website post so you can follow that conversation along.
Yeah.
Don't mind us. But the thing is, and it's not talked about a lot, although it's popular and then it fades away. The kids, and that's probably like a really terrible thing for me to say, but I feel so old. The kids in the witchy community are really into the shadow work, and God bless them for it. I'm very generalizing. I know it's not all kids, but this is, you find them on like Tumblr and the amino apps and things like that. I associate those apps with the kids.
They really are, though. Like, the other day, my boyfriend's 11-year-old was like, I want to FaceTime this person on the amino app. And I'm all, okay, so where did you learn about the amino app? And she's all, everybody knows about the amino app. And then she was all like, let me tell you about it. And I showed her my phone. I said, I already have the amino app, girl. And she was like,
Suddenly it's no longer cool. She's like,
Right.
I don't want to FaceTime people from there anymore. They're old.
Right.
Problem solved.
Oh, drop the mic. No.
So yes, we are lurking out there among you kids, guys. Just so you know, you're being watched. I actually because I have my ordination, and in some states it's illegal for people with their ordination to discuss religion with minors. Like, I feel very weird being on those apps because people will be like, hi, I'm in junior high and I have a question about this ritual. And I'm like, I don't know what state you're in, so it may or may not be legal for me to talk to you without your parents' permission. Sorry. I cannot, in legally good conscience, answer this question. Would you please not advertise your age so I at least have plausible deniability?
He said he was 19.
He didn't say how old he was. I have no idea. I just assumed. Aren't there terms and conditions on this app?
Right? Blame it on the terms and conditions.
Absolutely. A plausible deniability. But if you start it with I'm 13, then I'm just like, I can't. That's a whole other issue, isn't it? The spiritual bypassing, the kids are into the shadow work, and I appreciate that a lot because shadow work is really, really important. But around shadow work, there's also this weird myth that it's like a one and done kind of deal.
Oh God, no! I wish that'd be so convenient.
Right? It's not this ongoing thing that you're just going to have to do. Congratulations, while you were taking care of your shadows, you developed 4 more.
FYI, everybody, shadow work is all your life.
It is. You always have to face your shadow self.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with shadow work, this is addressing those issues that you like to keep hidden from other people and probably also yourself. Mm-hmm. So things about yourself that you're ashamed of, secrets that you're keeping, negative emotions that you don't like to display or admit to, that kind of stuff. I mean, if you like to display your anger issue, that's not really shadow work. But if you don't like to talk about why you have one, that is. A lot of the community doesn't recognize that it is an ongoing thing. Like Maria and Heather said, it is forever. At least back in the old days, it used to be said, and I'm not sure how true it was or not, that the second degree in a Wiccan coven was all about the shadow work. And that's when the inverted pentacle became a thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I don't know about that. I just know that shadow work can be really fun, and you can actually manifest from the shadow side, which is really more fun. This idea of denying feelings.
I hate it. It makes me angry.
And the one thing that people don't consider with spiritual bypassing is the idea of the matrix, that we all are connected. And so sometimes shit happens to you because of someone else. Not because of you. It's because you're in somebody else's field. Say, your mom does something or has an issue. you're going to feel that. And there is going to be a trickle effect, or maybe you did something a long time ago and it finally is reverberating back to you from something else. And it's not like there's not this cause and effect thing people think there is. Like, if I do this, I'm going to immediately get this return from it. That's not how it works. Energy moves, but it also integrates. So it could be the people around you. It could be somebody else's issue that is getting some kind of clapback, and you're receiving part of that. There's just a lot that goes on with it. So I always get really frustrated because people forget that we are interconnected, and it's not just you.
It's so great that you bring that up, because when my mother died, that was a huge issue I dealt with. Like, everyone would be like, well, what do you think you're supposed to be learning from this?
What?
And I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to be learning anything. I think she was having a lesson and I was related to her.
Exactly.
Like, I don't think this shit has anything to do with me, except I'm in the room. Like, that's it.
Pretty much,
like,
yeah.
And that's kind of how free will works. Like, if you believe in free will, then there's going to be the issue where sometimes, like, there's chaos happening because not everything can be orchestrated. And like Heather said, like, things come back around to you, but like, say you do something and then, like, you know, John has a chance to take an action that will serve you karmically, but then because he has free will, he decides to have a cheeseburger instead.
Right.
So karma's like, damn it. Okay. So like 6 months later, Jeffrey has a chance to serve you your karma, and he also gets distracted by something shiny and decides to be a grown-up and do something mature instead. And so karma again is like, oh, really? All this maturity. And then, like, it has to wait for the next opportunity to come around because people keep using their free will to do good things instead of bad things, like most folks choose. So, like, it has to, like, things have to line up just the right way, even in an example of karma, if you believe in it, which is optional.
Yeah, and it can also dissipate, too. That's the thing. Like, maybe karma was going to do you something, but then you learned another lesson, and so it dissipates. Or maybe you decide that you want to learn another lesson, or maybe you realize that you did something wrong and you redeemed it. Therefore, the karma doesn't exist. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to dissolve karma.
Yeah, there's so many theories of karma. But yes, the shadow work is really important in that it allows you to take the time and address those things about yourself. And that's really important. And like I said, a lot of times in Wiccan covens, the second degree of initiation is all about turning inward and facing all those inner demons and coming to know who you really are. Because a lot of times when you deny that side of yourself, the emotional, the shameful, the hidden, the parts of yourself that you're not the most proudest of, you're denying who you are and a lot of where you came from. And that's not healthy. To pretend that you aren't sad about things, to pretend you're never angry, to pretend you don't have faults, is to pretend you're not a person.
Well, the whole example with your mom, I mean, how narcissistic and self-absorbed is that to think that because your mom died, that you had to have a lesson in that?
Right? That because, like, my mom had all 4 of her limbs amputated and then died, that was somehow about me.
Right. It had nothing to do with you. It had to do with her and her choices.
Yeah, it's a big lesson. I'm pretty sure that one was about her.
Right.
Like, anything that I learned from it is probably bonus for me. Like, I didn't have to learn anything, but anything that I learned from it is gravy. Bonus lessons for me.
If we were going through with spiritual bypassing, then you caused that. You caused your mom to have her legs amputated. You caused that so that you could learn the lesson. So it's your fault.
We combine it with the law of attraction, absolutely. And if I had focused on the positive things, you know,
could have helped your mom out.
The spiritual bypassing is the first step where people are like, well, you should just be glad that she's still alive. She might be missing her limbs, but she should still be alive. And I actually did experience that a lot with my, because I was 12 at the time. So my aunt also was disabled at the time. She had the use of 1/2 of one lung. And when I asked, like, why is this happening to my mom? Why our family? And she was like, well, why me? Why anyone? You have to focus on the positive. You can't just, like, wallow and be upset about things. There's a lot worse going on to other people out there. You can't feel sorry for yourself for it. And it was like, 1, I'm 12. So fuck right off. For 2, we're not comparing. It's not like the king of shit mountain is the one who gets to complain and everybody else has to suck it up.
See, here's the thing. I can understand both sides, because I can understand somebody wallowing too much in their depression, where it's not healthy, where it's like they hold on to their and I know from personal experience, hold on to like bitterness and anger, and I can understand that not being the best thing for somebody to do. But to be told that you can't have those feelings whatsoever, or like being ashamed if you did have those feelings, that's where I'm like, okay, no, that's bullshit, because you need to have those feelings to be human, to have that experience. You have to. That's not something that can be turned off.
Even if you're wallowing, there's a reason that you're wallowing that you're not addressing. And so instead of like pretending that reason doesn't exist and you just need to like toughen up and suck it up and move on, you need to address, you need to go deeper and look at that real reason why you're wallowing instead of like turning your back on it. But then you combine that, like Heather said, with the law of attraction. It's like, okay, but now by focusing on your sadness or whatever, you're going to make it worse by attracting more sadness.
And I hate that, because that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes my best manifesting comes from anger, because I've finally been able to say exactly what I've been wanting to say the whole time, and I have not been able to express it in any other way. And so I'll be like, fuck this, where's my candle, where's my shit, this is going down now. And then I'm like, oh, hey, I was really upset about that.
Yeah, because you have that, see, that's the thing, that's what I agree with, because that's your determination, that's where your fire comes from, because you may be a water sign, but good God, you have so much freaking drive and fury, it's not even funny. But that works for you. That's the thing. Your emotions work for you that way. That's your thing. But like I said, I can understand both sides. I can understand the whole thing of like, I can understand the don't wallow in it to the point where it's unhealthy to you and to other people. Like when you start, when instead of seeing it and going like, okay, why am I like this? Why? Like that's, for me, that's more shadow work. Like going, that you actually say it to yourself and be like, okay, why am I being so sad? Not that I shouldn't be sad because that's just wrong and I'm like bringing everybody down. No, you should be like, why am I sad? How can I fix this? Or better yet, what can I do with this? How can I make myself better by going through the emotion and getting to the other side, instead of going, well, I'm going to feel this way and I'm just going to stay here and I'm not going to do anything about it. That's where I'm like, okay, no. That's where I'm right there. That's when I'm like, okay, that's not good.
Yeah, and as someone who has worked in the behavioral health field and dealt with mental health issues myself, I'm really very against the idea of like suck it up and deal. No, you figure out what the problem is and then you address it. It doesn't serve anyone. Like when you get really, really angry about something and finally decide to do it, what have you been doing up until that point? You've been like, no, I shouldn't be angry. I'm just going to set this aside. I'm going to put on a happy face. So you're spiritually bypassing yourself. And so it never would have gotten to that point where you got really, really angry and you're like, fuck it, I'm going to deal with this right now. Boom, dealt with. Like it never would have done that if like at the very beginning you were like, hold up, I'm having feelings right now. I want to address these.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Except people don't want to address them with you, so.
No, I totally get that, because like, okay, so I'm a water sign. I'm a Pisces, for everybody that doesn't know yet. I am super emo. Like, everything in between. Like, my mood changes every 5 minutes.
You're a lot more, like, thrash metal, to be honest.
I don't know what that means.
It's a very violent kind of metal.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, so I feel. So I got some strong opinions and emotions and stuff. But it's, I've been told all my life, you need to take it down a notch, you need to calm down, you need to not feel so much, you need to figure out how to regulate your emotions, and I am regulating my emotions, this is me regulated. This is me thinking it through before I speak.
I am calm.
So yeah, when I heard about spiritual bypassing, I was like, what the fuck? Like, seriously, this is like my whole life, like people telling me to calm down. Or not to accept my emotions and let people be people. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't know what that means. But
you have to be so sensitive.
Right. And to really only think about the positive and see the good in everything. And you're really blessed, and so you shouldn't have these emotions because you're white and blessed. So you should you should not have any sad feelings. And I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever.
My ouchie is bigger than your ouchie, so you should just stop having one altogether.
Right, because you're not
you can't
oppressed.
acknowledge your pain because it's not as big as mine.
Because you're white privileged, so therefore you do not have any emotions.
You don't have any problems like I do, kind of a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's always well, that's okay. Let me tell you about my story.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is a form of spiritual bypassing, because it's like yours doesn't matter because yours doesn't have the weight that mine does.
Right, but look at me. I put on a happy face and I still go to work and I still do no. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think there's beauty in the darkness. I think there's beauty in those deeper feelings, and I've never met anybody who manifested just from happiness. When you're going out on a limb and you're taking those risks and you're 90% freaking out and 90% trusting in the process. I know I keep doing 200% lately, but that's how I feel. So, and the other 40% is you just paying attention to the signs. But I never met anybody who manifested something big who wasn't nervous and freaking out and had like 10 breakdowns in between the time they started manifesting and when they got it.
Absolutely. Well, and for me, like, I hate the whole, like, denial of emotions. Because, one, I feel like that's very, like, patriarchal.
It is.
We must have logic. We must have reason. Things must always follow orderly. And the people who are telling you to, like, quit being so sensitive are usually the most emotional, unpredictable people ever. And you're like, really? Me? I'm the one overreacting? But I was really lucky because, like, I grew up with my parents. My dad is an Aquarius. So he's all like, we're all about the logic and the reasoning here. We don't talk about the deep, erratic emotions that I have. I'm just going to pretend I'm completely logical and deny emotions to everyone else. And my mother was a Taurus who was like, my emotions are the most important thing whatsoever. And if I'm having emotions, there's a reason for them, even if I don't know what it is. So I kind of grew up in that dual world. And so, for me, like, I've always had, society drives it into you that you have to be logical, you have to be reasonable. I'm very, very good at being logical and reasonable. But on the other side, I'm always like, except these emotions are super important and they don't agree with that logic. So unless my logic and my emotions agree, it's bullshit.
Right.
That
makes sense.
Like, if my emotions are not on board, all this logical, like, rationality that you've put together,
it's bullshit.
This logical proof that you charted out right now, if my emotions aren't on board with that, it's bullshit. I might not be able to tell you why yet, but I know it is. And so for one thing, for me, it's really important when somebody's struggling with something is to simply acknowledge that whatever they're struggling with sucks. That is, like, whenever somebody says to me, like, this is a thing that happened to me and I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm upset, that person's unfair, I'm like, yeah, that fucking sucks. That's horrible. That's a horrible, horrible thing. And it's okay for people to hold those two things at once. Like, I'm going to move past this, but I'm also super sad. Or I'm going to move past this and be constructive, but I'm super fucking angry.
You know something that I really dislike, though? Like, it's not even in the spiritual community, because it's also in, like, just regular communities. They do this all the time. Mm-hmm. And it's like when you, like, let's say you go through a breakup and you're feeling the pain of the breakup, and the first thing that your friends tell you or something like that is like, oh, go out and have fun, show him that you're like, that you don't need him, kind of a thing. And that, yeah, in theory, that's good. But right now, all I want to do is cry and, like, be upset and throw things, and then then there's like, and it's like that stigmatism that you're like, not stigmatism, you know what I mean? Like
the stigma.
Yeah, the stigma that, oh, you're going to be like the crazy ex-girlfriend or the crazy ex-boyfriend or something, when you're trying to understand what happened between you and this person. And it's so overwhelming that you can't even think straight. And people are like, oh, just work on yourself and be all like, like go out and just, I don't know, have a spa day. That'll help you out. And I'm like, no, that's not going to help me out. And I've noticed that about people. And it's like, work on you, be good to yourself. And I'm like, yeah, but good to myself would be punching a wall right about now.
It's spiritual bypassing. Like, you have to go replace your negative feelings with positive feelings as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Right, because we don't want to be encumbered by them, because we don't want you to be a buzzkill every time we talk to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I have always recommended, like, since high school, to have a good wallow.
Yeah.
Like, have a good wallow, maybe keep it to, like, 2 weeks. after that, if you're going on, then maybe you need to reach out to someone. But like, just have like, you have to mourn the end of relationships,
Oh my
friendships, romantic relationships, whatever. Like, you have to have a period of mourning where you're just like, this sucks and I'm sad. I'm gonna get all the emotions out. I'm just gonna sit here and listen to really sad songs and cry a lot while
Stay up until 5 o'clock in the morning crying
in my journal. Yeah. That's my mode, by the way. I like to just play sad songs. I have a specific playlist with sad songs.
Oh, same.
Oh my god, I'm so on board with that.
I do. I'm just like, I just need to get it out right now. So it's about 50 songs long, and every single song on there is a tearjerker. Like, within the first measure of the song starting, I'm already crying.
Oh no, for me it's not a playlist of songs. It's a playlist of really emotional scenes in Doctor Who, because I'm a total nerd.
Nice.
And I'll just watch that and I'll just start bursting into tears.
I have a friend who watches The Notebook.
Oh
God.
Yeah, so whenever she needs a good cry, she just puts on The Notebook. Through stuff, and she'll just like journal and watch The Notebook, and like when she gets to the end, if she's not done, she just starts it over again.
Well, the funny thing is that the first time I watched the movie, somebody had told me, oh, it's like really emotional and you cry, and like they told me more or less the ending, because I'm one of those people, you can tell me the ending of a movie and I'll still go on and watch it, and it's still like new for me. And they told me, and I was like, oh, okay, it doesn't sound that bad. I mean, it sounds bad, but not bad. You know, I don't think I'll cry. And I'm watching it, and it's like all of a sudden, every single thing that I've ever held back.
Yes.
Like a waterfall coming out of my face. I'm like, oh my God, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, I really require that people warn me. Like, I don't like spoilers at all, but if I'm going to need a lot of tissue, I do like to know that ahead of time. Like, to feel like you're going to need a new box. Like, okay. Because I am a messy, blubbery, snotty crier.
You know what's so funny about that? So I just rewatched The Notebook like a month ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so fake. Like, I could not get into it this time. And I'm putting the tissue, because I had my tissues ready. I was ready. And I was like, the guy built a house for her and he waited around for her. Fake. Like, I was so jaded.
You're bitter.
You're know.
A bitter bitch.
I turned into that bitter bitch. And I was just like, handed off the tissues. Like, here, I'm not going to need these. I'm fine. What a
Have you ever seen the movie P.S. I Love You?
No.
Okay, it's a tearjerker as well. And I was watching it with my best friend and another friend of ours. And that other friend, literally at the end of that movie, she was like, "That's cute, but it's so unrealistic." And we were all like crying, and she was just like, "It's okay." And I was like, "Damn, girl, you're not even like past your 20s, and you're already that like freaking."
No, she was probably like putting on an act. Like, oh, it didn't get me. I'm not crying. I'm not sad.
Well, she looked pretty straightforward. Like, it was okay. And I was okay.
That was me when I was 20.
Oh, okay.
I had the cold poker face, and then I'd go home and be like, "Oh God!" Yeah, I could not cry in public.
Oh no, I cry often at movies.
I do too.
I cry at commercials, guys.
I do too. What is going on with that? It must be the perimenopause, because I'm all like, that car is so pretty.
Oh my God, there's a dog in the car. Look how happy the dog is. The dog is so happy.
I know, but like
So that was my other suggestion. Like, if it's not The Notebook, put on one of those animal movies, because the animals never survive.
God.
Oh.
I cry at the beginning of Pet Sematary, you guys.
Oh my God.
Oh, okay,
Wow.
that's a little much, but that's okay. You can have that emotion.
I cry now when I laugh. If I
you laugh too much?
Yeah, like if I laugh very like full on like laughter when your belly starts to hurt and everything because you're laughing so hard that you can't breathe. You're like trying to get air in, but you can't because you're laughing so much. Mm-hmm. Like that kind of good laughter. That laughter makes me burst into tears. So I'll be like,
and then like everything releases, right?
Yeah, everything.
You're too pent up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. We're circled perfectly back around, Maria. You're on it today. back to the spiritual bypassing, because we get in these periods where we have to like use the playlists and the movies and all that stuff, and we start leaking over commercials and whatnot because we're so pent up and we're just like stuffing all these emotions, and then other people can't deal with them. Like, how many fights have I had with my honey because, like, I started having an emotion and then he, like, got all guilty feeling and defensive because I had an emotion, and then he felt terrible that I had the emotion and he couldn't handle the emotion to make it go away, so then he got mad and upset, and it was like, oh, really, fuck's sake, I'm just having an emotion.
It's not the end of the world.
Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's my emotion, like, just leave me to it, man.
I find that a lot with actually my best friend. He has a habit of that when I'm like having a moment, or I'm like trying to tell him, look, I'm just like, literally, it's just like, I just want to tell my story. I just want to tell you why I'm upset, why I'm crying, why I'm so mad, or I'm so whatever right now. And he tries to analyze it, like psychoanalyze why I'm feeling this way. And I'm like, I'm not asking you why I feel this way.
You know why.
You know, yeah, I know exactly why. I'm not asking you that. And oh my God, and that just kills it for me. I'm always just like, I want to punch you now. Like, I want to like hurt you. I don't, obviously.
And I'm adding you to the bottom of the list. So now I have to go talk to that other person because I didn't get to talk about this with you, and I still have to talk about that to somebody. And now I'm adding you to the bottom of the list because now I'm fucking pissed at you too.
And I'm going to talk about that to the next person, by the way.
Right.
And he does it all the time. And I've told him, stop interrupting. One, stop interrupting. And two, let me be upset. Let me be upset and just let me say my piece. Afterwards, you can say what you want. That's fine. But 99.9% of the time, when somebody's telling you how they feel and how upset they are, all they want you to do is listen to them.
Validate.
Whoa. That's it. You don't have to give them advice. If you want to, sure, but do it at the end when they've already expelled their whole trauma. And that's when you say something. And 99.9% of the time, if you give them advice, they're not going to take it.
They're just going to get mad or offended.
They're just going to get mad. Yeah. Hold them and let them cry, let them scream, let them just throw something, but just let them do it.
So all those negative emotions, they all fuck up your manifesting, by the way. So that's the reason why you're in the situation you are in.
Which is bullshit.
Right?
Actually, you know what a good movie that shows spiritual bypass, without realizing it was spiritual bypass. It's more along the lines of just trying to satisfy other people's opinions of what you should or shouldn't be doing. But the movie that I saw the other day that we were talking about it, and that was In and Out.
Inside Out.
Inside Out. Thank you. Inside Out.
I like In and Out. That sounds delicious. But Inside Out, the movie, yeah.
I guess I got something else on my mind right now, and that's food.
Yeah.
It's always food and sex with you, Maria.
Mm-hmm. Hey, she knows what's important in life, okay?
She does. What's In and Out? Or Inside Out? Oh, the movie about the feelings.
Yeah, the Pixar movie about the feelings.
Oh,
I love that movie so much.
Movie made me cry. That one made me cry.
That one made me cry like more than once.
Me too.
I was watching with my best friend, and we were both I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. Oh my god! And we both started crying.
I'm not crying. You're crying.
Yeah, I'm not crying. You're crying.
One thing I really love is I love watching movies, and my honey is like as big a sap as I am. So I'll be like, we'll be sitting there, and like neither one of us wants to get up to go get the tissues, and then like I'll like glance over at him, and there's like tear marks down his face too, and I'm just like, I need tissue. Because that's what I sound like. He'll be like, okay.
I'm just imagining you like looking at him going like, I need tissue.
I can't talk through my nose because at that point it's like already leaking and it's slimy.
Oh my God.
I'm a terrible crier. There's no sexiness at all. It's just like straight out my nose, goop. Sorry.
It's awesome. That's how I cry too. It's crying for me is an event. It has to be mucusy and gross and slimy, and my hair has to be sticking out. Yeah.
Yeah.
These are all normal emotions, though, and if I don't think that has anything to do with our life lessons or how we navigate our manifesting. I think you can be the super emo person of the world and be bipolar too and still manifest some really cool shit if you recognize it.
I think locking up those emotions, because emotions are just energy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, like, locking up those emotions cuts off part of your power. It cuts off part of your soul, part of your humanity, and so denying who you are. I mean, that's part of the great spiritual truths, right? To thine own self be true. If you're denying who you are and your experiences, then like you're just living in a delusion.
Or that whole thing about how like, okay, so you upset me with the action that you did. Well, why are you upset by that action? That must be you. I can't be responsible for your feelings. So if you're upset by my action, what does that say about you and your actions? Like that's a full spiritual bypassing right there. And it's like,
I can't make you feel feelings. You're choosing to feel those feelings.
You're choosing to feel those things. Maybe you should see how this reflects on your actions.
I just love it how it's like a choice for you to feel feelings.
Right, like I have control over them.
Yeah, it's like I just love that. It's like I choose to still be hung up on my ex-boyfriend, you know? Right. I choose to still love him. It's my choice and my choice only. Oh my god, I just love being miserable. It's like,
this
really?
This is my idea of fun. Yeah.
This is my idea of a good time. Crying myself to sleep, being depressed most of the time. Hey, charmed life right here. Like, give me a break. Okay.
Well, I mean, I think to a certain degree we do choose, like, we can choose to move on and feel that pain and have that separation. But at the same time, that whatever that is, that connection is serving you in some way, and until it doesn't serve you, then you're going to be connected, and that's not a bad thing. Like, nobody should be judged for that.
Yeah.
Right. But, like, that whole, like, I can't make you feel feelings thing is usually said to you by someone who just pissed you off.
But I can understand if they do something that has nothing to do with you and they're not doing anything towards you, but you're upset because they're doing that. Then that's different. That's just...
They're almost always, like, did something like broke your favorite vase.
Okay.
Because they thought that you needed to let go of it now. And they're like, and you're like, I'm so mad at you. Why are you trying to piss me off? And they're like, I can't piss you off. I can't control your feelings. You're choosing to be pissed off at me right now. I'm helping you.
Oh, that is such bullshit. Yeah. I would have.
It's always the biggest bastard. It's always the people that talk so much shit and they don't have any filters and they're just stupid assholes who think that they have the right just to be uncouth, you know? Those are people that always say that.
A spiritual lesson on it too, like, this is just a vase. Why are you having such strong emotions about a vase? You need to let go of material objects like I have. I can destroy a vase with no emotional reaction whatsoever, except like the obvious smugness.
Oh, well, then I should just get my keys and scratch your car, because it's not, an emotional connection there, would it be? Because, I mean, it's just a car, right?
Let me break
How about if I smash your windows?
And don't get angry.
It's like gaslighting / spiritual bypassing all in one little basket of awesome.
Right. And then we have a fun extra part of that. There's a psychological term called psychological disintegration. And that's where you actually start being unable to recognize those emotions.
Ooh.
Yeah. So you're actually losing parts of yourself. And that's when you start seeing people, they like react. And you're like, why are you so angry right now? And they're like, I'm not angry, I'm fine. And you're like, okay, you're fucking lying. And they're like, no, really, I'm not angry. And you're like, oh, except for like the fact that you just broke all the dishes.
Right.
And they're like, no, that was a total accident. I didn't mean to do that. Like, they legitimately don't recognize that they're angry because they've been telling themselves for so long that being angry makes them a bad person, and they are not a bad person. They're only ever a happy person, so they don't have anger. And so they no longer recognize their own anger.
That can't be good.
No, it's so very bad for you. Like, that is so bad because you're still going to be angry. You're still going to act angry. You just aren't going to be able to consciously recognize it, which means you also can't regulate it. I mean, you can't you can't consciously choose actions in order to express that anger in a healthy way. So it's going to leak out unconsciously.
So how is that good for anybody as far as like love and light goes, or light work, because if you're doing this, if you're spiritual bypassing and you're only in the light and you're only thinking good thoughts and only feeling good things, how are you able to help other people?
You can't. It's all delusional, and it might feel really good at first, like any other drug, but eventually you have diminishing returns and it stops working and people get more and more desperate. And when you see like the big teachers out there who are really preaching this stuff, at first do you kind of see like they're like, oh yeah, look at this person I helped, oh yeah, look at this person I helped, but then after a while they're like, I just live an amazing life, and you're like, right, because you sell a lot of books, but what are you actually doing?
Right.
Because they stopped talking about that part, because they stopped actually doing anything.
Because how are you helping people? Because people, when you're helping people, you're going with them into the shadow, you're going with them into the darkness, and you are showing them that they can come out of it. And if you're not willing to go into the darkness, basically you're shaming people for having problems.
And feelings. Not just
feelings.
Problems. They might not have problems, they might just have an emotional reaction to something, and you're shaming them for it. As if they had control over it. I mean, you don't have control over your emotional reactions. You do have control over your actions you take based on your emotional reactions. So if you get super angry, that's not on you. But if you call someone a bitch because you got angry, that is. Like, you can choose not to call someone a bitch, but you don't choose whether or not you get angry. So how you express those emotions is totally in your control, but not whether or not you have them in the first place.
Yeah. That makes me think of, have you heard of the work by Byron Katie?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so the work is this way of reframing things, and let me look it up really quick. I have the book, and I read it, and when I first heard about it, I was like, oh my god, this is genius, because you're just reframing things so you don't have to feel the same way about it. But now that we're talking about this, it feels like almost like you are giving up your actual emotions. And maybe
that sounds terrible.
And I'm sorry, people who are into the work, like you're probably gonna email me and stuff. I love all the emails you guys send me. But here are the questions with the work. Let's think of something like
something bad or something good.
Like, think of something like, my boyfriend is a dick and he's always mean to me. Okay,
I'm thinking that exact thought now.
Okay, so the first question is it true?
Okay.
So you have to write down,
should I write this down?
No, you don't have to, but this is how you work it. Like, so is my boyfriend, so say your boyfriend, like, was mean to you, okay, and he said some nasty things to you, okay?
Okay.
So, is it true?
Alright. No.
This question can change your life. Be still and ask yourself if the thought you wrote down is true. Question number 2. Can you absolutely know it's true?
No.
This is another opportunity to open your mind and go deeper into the unknown, to find the answers that live beneath that we think we know. How do I act when this happens, when you believe that thought?
How do I react?
Yeah, how do you react? No, how do you react when this happens, when you believe that thought? So my boyfriend's like a mean dick. So how do you react to that?
I don't want anything to do with him.
Right. With this question, you begin to notice internal cause and effect. You can see that when you believe the thought, there is a disturbance that can range from mild discomfort to fear or panic. What do you feel? How do you treat the person? How do you treat yourself? Make a list, be specific. Who would you be without that thought? Imagine yourself in the presence of the person or situation without believing the thought. How would your life be different if you didn't have the ability to even think that stressful thought? How would you feel? Which do you prefer, life with or without the thought? Which feels kinder and more peaceful?
I think I'd be much happier as a Stepford wife.
Right? So
I'm sorry, that is literally my initial reaction. Like, take away my ability to think a thought, fuck off.
Right, but it gets better. Turn the thought around. The turnaround gives you an opportunity to experience the opposite of what you believe. Once you have found one or more turnarounds to your original statement, you're invited to find at least 3 specific, genuine examples of how each turnaround is true in your life.
I'm brainwashing myself right now?
Yeah.
I'm going to pause.
Before I thought it was genius, but what if your boyfriend really is a dick? What if he's abusive? What if he gaslights? What if he hits you?
Yeah,
You could-
no. I'm out. I'm angry about your book.
That was on Oprah.com, by the way.
Oh no, fuck that shit.
She's a proponent of the work, but I used to think it was genius because I'm like, well, okay, so and so is a narcissistic bastard and they treat me bad, but hey, is that really true? Do I know it to be true? Can I turn this around? What would happen if I didn't think that person was an asshole? Would my life be better? And I was like, yes, I could, so this person is an asshole. But then you fall back into these shitty
I can change
cycles.
this person type of thing.
No, you don't change the
because
person.
you're changing yourself.
Right, you change how you think about that
You're
person.
like, I don't actually hate broccoli. I actually love broccoli.
Right.
You know, I
That's
don't
very
hate being
dangerous.
gaslighted. I love being gaslighted.
Right.
That's very dangerous.
No, that's a terrible plan.
But I'm saying that's very dangerous.
Yeah, I agree with you, Maria.
That's
That's
very dangerous.
I don't want to be a Stepford wife.
It's so funny that your initial reaction is to hate it. Now that I look at it again, I was like, oh wow, am I teaching myself to put up with bullshit?
I'm gonna go with yes. That is what that is.
Because, like, I mean, I could see where it's like thoughts about yourself, like, okay, I'm a bad person. So you could take the work and go, am I really a bad person? Or I don't manifest well. Is that true? Like, I could see where you could do it with yourself to get rid of negative thoughts or help yourself, you know, logically get out of your own self-flagellation kind of thing, you know, but
it starts out really well, but like the following, like when you get further down the line to like, you know, who would I be if I couldn't have this thought? Like that needs to be like very optional in the flow chart. Like there's some answers that come before this that determine whether or not we want to go down that road.
Right, because you're missing the whole point that maybe you have an asshole boyfriend because that's your cycle. And if you're teaching yourself to ignore that and change the thought, then you're not really changing the action or the cycle. You're just changing your thoughts around it, which is probably why you got there in the first place, is because you allow these things to happen in your life.
Right. Yeah. If you start with that first question, you're like, you know, is this actually a true statement? My boyfriend is a dick who always treats me like shit. And you're like, yeah, that's a true statement. It should be like, okay, then dump him.
Right. There's no other steps up.
Apparently, yeah. End of flow chart. Dump him. You're done. Like, we're done here.
Look at your past history with men. Look at your father wound and see how that works out for you. Acknowledge that.
Right?
As you dump him.
Yeah, exactly. Once you're single, like grieve the relationship, mourn it, you know, let go of all that, you know, just have some wallow time, and then let's do some work to find out why you got into this relationship and why you allowed it to continue on for so long, and let's not do it again. There's
things like this where this actually looks very positive, and no shade to Byron Katie, I've seen her actually do this with people and do the rework. And it's very, very powerful when you see it. But then you go back and you think about, like somebody was saying, it's always about husbands. Oh, my husband doesn't do anything around the house and he's very lazy. And I have to pay all the bills. Okay. Is that true? And they go through the whole thing and they get to the part, well, what if I wasn't thinking that? Well, I would love my husband more. So why don't you focus on that? And it's like, wait a minute.
That doesn't solve her problems.
It doesn't solve the problem at all. The husband is still going to be a lazy jerk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's just going to choose to
put up with it.
Like it?
Or act. Well, she's going to act different. She's going to make different choices, but that's not going to change anything. It's just going to change the way she thinks about it. Or maybe she'll accept it. Okay, so my husband or my boyfriend is lazy. So, okay, I'll just overcompensate.
Yeah, I guess I'll just be fine doing everything.
Right.
That's fine with me.
Because I chose this life.
Yeah, I chose this life and whatever. The problem is me for having such whacked out expectations.
Right. It always goes back to that, too. It always goes back to, I guess my expectations are too high.
No, get those expectations up there.
Mm-hmm.
Just in general, everybody quit settling, okay?
That's a law of attraction thing, too. This whole idea that you can't settle. Like, if you want a bigger house, then you can't accept a smaller house. Like, you have to raise your vibrations and start having, you have to have higher expectations. But then work like this or spiritual bypassing, you can't have those higher expectations because you need to accept what you have. So, like,
Yes, but one does what one must.
Right.
I need a house. So I'm going to work with what I've got, and then I will work towards the bigger house later. One must be practical with these things. You know? Right. I am all for that. I am in that situation where I would really like a very large house. I'm looking for at least 50 acres with a custom-built house right on the beach. I want to overlook the ocean. But I settled for a one-bedroom apartment in Fresno because I needed a place to live. So we are working on the other property. We can take half steps. It's okay. Other people sell that as breaking down a goal into manageable pieces. So you can sell it either way.
Well, according to spiritual bypassing, you are punishing yourself.
I am. Yeah, and law of attraction. Like, if I wasn't focusing on how hard things were, then I would have attracted the house I really
wanted. Bigger house. Yeah. And the money for it, too, would have just come to you, by the way.
It would have just shown up instead.
Right.
So, because that's, how that works.
It would just miraculously showed up.
Yes, and it actually did. It actually did. Because honestly, a stupid amount of money. Hotels are very expensive.
Honestly, I've seen so many light workers, mostly on Facebook, that I've seen their posts and stuff like that in other groups, that are desperate for money because they weren't thinking about or worrying about the bills. They were just like being all positive and doing the whole, spiritual bypass. And then at the last minute when they're like, well, you have your eviction notice. And now is when they're like freaking out and going and saying and asking people for help and whatnot, which obviously I felt bad for the people that I've seen that have happened this to them. And it's not just one person or two, it's like several people that I've seen this happen like the last several years. It makes me wonder, like at first I was like, why is this happening? Why, if you're doing something that you love and you're really pushing it and all that stuff, because I do something that I love. I do tarot card readings and I do YouTube. But I'm realistic. I'm not like saying, oh, if I just think of how wonderful it is to be a YouTuber and how much I'm helping with tarot and just thinking about my tarot decks and how wonderful life is doing this, and I don't have to go to an office. I have my own office at home.
And a beautiful vision board.
And a beautiful vision vision board and all that stuff, which I do have a vision board, okay? I do.
I do too.
Okay, but is it beautiful enough? I'm sorry, continue on, Maria.
But I still take the responsibility going, I need to pay these bills. I need to worry about that. Let me hustle with my tarot card readings. I'm not like, if I just think of positivity of it, I'm going to get customers. No, it's like I send out newsletters and I do everything I have to do. I do hustle. And I don't get that from other, from light workers and not light workers, but, like the people that follow that mentality of like, it'll just come to you. I'm like, no, you got to work for it, honey.
The people who are falling for hardcore, who are just like, I just knew if I just believe, if I just stayed with the plan and I just believed and I meditated on it for 2 hours every day.
Okay, look,
just open up the possibilities. It will. The opportunities will just flow.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me say something. Let me say something. I have manifested things without trying, without being super positive about the subject. For instance, I went to a car many years ago, in my early 20s. Unless you know how old I am. Anyways, in my early 20s, I went to a exhibition, a car exhibition with some friends that were into cars. I was just like, I don't want to be home alone on a Saturday morning. So we went, and I saw a Scion XD, and I was like, oh man, I want a Scion. They look so cute. I love them, blah, blah, blah. And they were giving out keychains, and I literally grabbed the keychain, not even thinking about it. I was like, something, I'm going to have a Scion XD one day. I'm going to put this keychain on my keychain that has like the little Scion XD or the Scion logo. And I did that. Never thought about a Scion again. Never bothered with a Scion. Never, ever, ever bothered with a Scion. The next car I got was a Scion.
A scion, though, Maria.
Yeah, I like science. Give me a break, okay? So, I ended up getting the scion that I wanted. But I didn't stop worrying about having a car. I still worried about having a car. I still worried about how was it going to make the money to get the car and whatnot. I didn't even think I was going to get a Scion when I bought it. I was going to get another car altogether. And I was walking outside talking to my friend on the phone, and I literally just said, hey, there's a Scion out here. Oh, I didn't see this the first time around. And I looked at it, and it was in my price range, and I literally ran back to the broker in the dealership, and I was like, I don't want that car. I want the Scion that's outside.
I love that.
But yeah, no, and it's funny because they had like a glass wall, and they said that they saw me running from because I was walking outside talking on the phone, and I was with where the cars were at and just pacing around, and they saw me running like a bat out of hell. They're coming inside going the Scion outside is the car that I want. Because I thought it was too late. I was like, don't sign the papers. But I didn't try to get the Scion. I tried to get the car, but I didn't try to get the Scion. I didn't think of myself in a Scion. I wasn't fantasizing of the Scion. I was just like, I'll have the keychain. I'm eventually one day, maybe, who knows? I don't know, kind of thing. But I'm pretty sure I will. And that's it. And I left it alone. And that was it. And I didn't do anything crazy to manifest this. I didn't have to be all happy about it. Some days I was depressed that I didn't have a car. I'm a Sagittarius. Again, we like to be free. We like to have adventure. And I couldn't because there was no Uber at the time. So I couldn't go out anywhere. I was stuck at home with my mother.
Sad thing. Yes.
I was in a very bad space, but I dwelled on my sadness and I still got what I wanted. So that lets you know that it's not about being super happy all the time. Yes, it's believing that you can achieve something, but not ignoring, your day-to-day life and your emotions about what is happening right now. Okay. That doesn't change it. It doesn't. To be honest, you have to let go of the idea and just, live in the moment and whatnot.
See, and then I want to point out something that you said, Maria, that I think is really important because when The Secret first came out,
oh boy.
Oh, yeah, we're going to go way back. I think we're back on AOL now for this discussion.
Oh, God, yeah.
I still have thoughts about that, though, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, when The Secret first came out, everyone was all into the law of attraction. It was like this new great idea, which, for one, not new. And I used to get into arguments. See, my getting thrown out of groups has gone way back. I used to get into arguments on the internet, back on AOL, I'm pretty sure. If not AOL, then CompuServe. Remember that one?
Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
Yes, you were old. I was always like, okay, but law of attraction is just another name for manifestation, except manifestation is a little bit more difficult because instead of just laying on your couch and thinking about what you want, you put your intention out there to the universe. You say, I am going to have the thing, and then you actually take steps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to do something about it.
You're like, I'm going to do my part, so you fucking do yours.
Yeah, that's how it works.
And we call that manifestation. And not the law of attraction. We call it manifestation, and it works.
A lot of times you have to face your shadow side in order for you to get what you want, too. Because if you were the person that had that, you would already have it.
Yeah. Well, unless that leads to the whole issue of blocks, right?
Yes.
If you can't think about your issues, you can't, release those energy blocks. They turn into dams in your energy flow. And we don't want floods.
We don't want floods.
You don't want those dams to burst.
But we do want to look at our shadow side because a lot of times, I'm a proponent of that. So if I want something bigger, like a bigger car, a bigger house, I do look at okay, why don't I have that already? Why am I not there yet? And it's usually because there's something that I haven't done or something I haven't dealt with, or it's just a belief. But that doesn't mean that I eventually won't get it. It just means that, okay, I'm not ready for that, obviously.
Right. And then you're like, oh, okay, so as soon as I clear this, that should solve that problem.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I'll do it in my own damn time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll get there when I get there.
Right.
All right. Yeah, exactly. And that's how I feel too. Like, okay. And so a lot of times when I fall short of those things, I can see why. I was like, okay, I understand why this was where I went instead of where I was aiming. This was the safe option. This was the one that was conceivable to me. This was what I felt good about and where that was scary for some reason. So addressing those feelings and stuff, but also like you don't want to fall into that whole like law of attraction thing. Like I only believed I could live in a dump, so that's why I live in a dump.
But that's not true, though. Sometimes you don't know anything else but living in a dump. So you have to give yourself examples of what it's like not to live in a dump. And sometimes that's hard to come by. And sometimes we try really hard and we haven't quite gotten to that step yet. That doesn't mean that you're a terrible manifester.
And it doesn't mean you should deny those feelings. Like,
No.
It's not that you're thinking about living in a dump that's causing you to live there. You know?
No, it's just that's all you know.
Yeah, so we don't want to, like, deny those feelings and the worries and fears. And again, like we said before, you can't really control your emotions. You can only control your reactions to your emotions and the actions you take based on your emotions. And so pretending you don't have them, they don't just go away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they just like to sit there in your psyche and in your subconscious mind and your unconscious mind. And once you get like a certain amount of them stored up, you start, they actually have started using this term in psychological circles now, where they call it leakage. Start expressing those emotions in very inappropriate situations where you don't intend to.
Yeah.
One of the articles that I read, this person was working at a campground. And there was a yoga retreat there for the week. It was all focused on whole body love and happiness. So these people were just going to be there for the week, and they were just focusing their entire minds and beings on love and happiness and feeling good in their body.
That sounds boring. Well, go ahead.
I know. But so the person was working in the cafeteria, and they ran all out of the lavender lemonade. And one of the people came out of one of the yoga workshops, found out there was no lavender lemonade, and went off.
What?
On the cafeteria workers. And the person was like, and that's when I learned about the term spiritual bypassing. Because here they were in these workshops being like, I am love and light. I am nothing but love and light. I am one with the universe. But they couldn't even deal with not having lemonade at that exact moment.
Wow.
And that's leakage, where like you have been denying all these emotions that you have, and then they come out at really inappropriate times when you can't control them. Like that person wasn't really mad about lemonade.
Right.
They may be a little irritated, but they probably weren't that mad about it. They were probably really mad about like their dad or something.
Yeah, like they're just going like, "Where's my lemonade? I need to hydrate," like or some shit.
I paid so much money, and you can't even have the lavender. Yeah, but yes, the person was probably really angry about something else, you know, and probably like 100 something else that they never expressed, and it just came out at lemonade time.
But shouldn't they be thinking, well, I obviously created that lemonade shortage, so maybe I need to go back and think about why I created lemonade shortage for myself.
Right, why did I put myself at this horrible yoga retreat where I would be tortured by a lack of lemonade?
Right. Why did that not go through their head?
Right, if you want to practice spiritual bypassing and the law of attraction combination, the deadly combination.
Right.
Yeah, well, because they weren't thinking.
It's their fault that the lemonade.
This was an example of leakage. What happens when you practice spiritual bypassing and law of attraction, deadly combination? You have leakage instead. So this person wasn't like, didn't make a conscious decision. They just immediately went off about lemonade.
Mm.
Wow.
Like I said, probably not because they were mad about lemonade.
Yeah, because it was just something that triggered them because they were already like upset and just didn't know how to feel it or whatever.
Yeah, because they've been like stuffing all these emotions that they've been having for God knows how long. Mm-hmm. And at that moment, they were like, that's the straw.
Oh, yeah. And I love it when people are like, just release it. Just release your anger.
Just shake it out. Just shake it out.
Just shake it out. And I'm like, no, No, because shake it out is me punching you in the face. How about that?
Yeah.
I'll shake it out in your face.
Yeah, and we do, especially with like anger and grief as a society, we don't teach people how to deal with those emotions in a healthy way.
No.
And so we end up with like calling people names, throwing stuff, putting our fists through walls or other people. Or with grief, we just pretend it doesn't exist. Like we can't acknowledge other people's grief. Like if someone dies, like people just don't talk to them. Or they're like, why don't you have this casserole? So why don't you just eat your feelings?
Sending out thoughts and prayers. Yeah, love and light.
Love and light. Yeah.
Putting you in a bubble.
Praying for your family. So we don't like teach people how to work through those emotions and express them in healthy ways. Like no one is taught to say like, I'm just feeling really ignored right now because this is a thing that happened to me and I don't like that.
I got a lot of that, and I'm still really angry about it. I got a lot of that when I went through therapy with my ex-boyfriend, and I think I've talked about this before. I have a podcast on it. If anybody wants, I'll put it in the show notes.
It was really good.
It was really good.
But one of the things that used to piss me off about that, and it's spiritual bypassing, even in this very like circly, very women thing, where I'd be like, I am still fucking angry about what he did to me because he cheated, right? And so I'm very angry about that, and I'm not going to give him a hard pass like all of you are, because they're like, well, we need to empathize with their struggle. We need to empathize with their going through, because what they're going through is just as sad and devastating as much as what we're going through. And I'm like, no, it's not. He's getting his dick sucked. I'm over here crying about it. This is not the same thing. He's anesthetizing himself, and I'm actually having to deal with the aftermath of that, and I'm having to recalculate my whole fucking life for that. No. I get to have my anger. And all the time.
That's what the support groups are for, too. Like
all the time I would hear is, you need to really start to let go of this anger because it's only serving you and it's not helping the situation. Wow. And I'm like, it is helping the situation. It's the only thing keeping me going right now. And I'm allowed to talk about it as much as I want. And after a while, people are like, you're still angry? It's been a month and you're still angry. Every time we talk to you, you're still angry about it. You're still talking about it. When do you come to forgiveness? And I'm like, I'll come to forgiveness when I fucking want to. But it was so frustrating to keep hearing, we need to be empathetic to the person who is doing the damage because they're the one that's really in the pain, because they're in this devastating cycle of addiction. And I'm like, I'm in the devastating cycle of being pissed off about it. So maybe one leads into the other. Why am I the one that has to change? Why am I the one that has to be empathetic? Nobody else is being empathetic to me. And I used to say that stuff, and they're like, you're just not getting it. So I quit that group.
I'm not imagining. I'm hoping. I really just want you to reassure me that was not run by a behavioral health professional.
No, it was the people who do NA and AA and all those.
Oh yeah, so fuck them.
But there was a private group that said the same thing to me. It was always about finding forgiveness and redemption in the situation and honoring your hurt but not letting it get to you, not being angry about it, just being sad about it and moving on and trying to find control in your life by letting go of the feelings.
The purpose of support groups is not to shame you for having feelings. The purpose of support groups is to give you a safe place where you can vent your feelings and feel supported in having them.
No, the support group, both support groups that I was in, and there was two separate things, and one does not follow the AA model, but both of them, the woman would come into the group and talk about their boyfriends or their cheating spouses in this way of like, I feel bad, I feel empathy for them, I see their pain, and their pain reflects my pain, and therefore we're both in pain. And so as long as I stay in that place, then I recognize his behavior is not woeful and it's not deliberate. It's because he's in pain, and until he's not in pain, he's not going to stop doing this. And so I have to decide what I'm going to do about it.
But you can do both.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I can be pissed off and do whatever I want at the same time. I can make two choices at the same time. Funny that.
Yeah, you can be like, okay, I get that 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 person has an addiction, and so they're making really bad choices based on their addiction, and also be pissed off that they hurt me.
Right, but it was not okay to be angry. Like, the anger, and it was not okay. It was just not okay. And I was like, why can't I be angry? Why am I being shamed for being angry? And I realized after a while, it was because nobody wanted to acknowledge that shadow side of themselves, or that part of themselves, the angry, hurt part of themselves. It was easier to empathize than to really dig deep and be hurt.
Yeah. And how many of them were making progress?
They stayed with their spouses. I only met one woman who told me in the very beginning, hold on to your anger and get the fuck out.
That's a wise woman right there.
And
the
she
relationship
did.
or the group?
No, she was in one of the groups, and she just came because she just needed the support of not going back. And she told me,
It's like, I'm not going to be like the rest of these women.
right, so it's not worth your time or your efforts. Keep the anger and get the fuck out. And then she was like, you'll like yourself better for it, because that anger is what's going to make you change, and the anger is what's going to make you leave. And after that, you can do whatever you want with it. But at the time, I was like, crazy bitch. And now I'm all like, dude, she's the wisest woman on the whole planet.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think anger is such an important emotion because it tells you that there's something wrong. It's
Yes.
not always helpful about telling you what is wrong exactly. But it tells you that there's something that is not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But the whole point of that diatribe was that we don't know how to deal with other people's emotions, strong emotions. I mean, I know when somebody dies, I don't want to say thoughts and prayers, love and light, I'll give you a hug. I want to be like, oh, that's so devastating, that's so horrible. How are you feeling right now? I'm surprised that you're even talking at this very moment. And if I say something like that in the comments, or I say that to the person, everyone's like, you're fucking it up. So I never know what to say.
That's what I do say.
Oh.
I totally do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I usually say it privately because, yeah, like you said, most people are horrified. They're like, oh my God, you're going to make it so much worse for them. But I'm like, no, I'm the only one here acknowledging that they're sad.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I just kind of clam up. Like, I get emotion shock.
I am a boar with a pig.
BOAR?
Yeah, I'm a pig. In that I'm like, in fact, I was talking to a friend of mine last night about her mother and losing her, and I was like, wow, that sounds really traumatic. I'm sure it took you a really long time to move past that. And she was like, I'm still not past it. I can't talk to anyone about it because it was a long time ago. And they're like, you're not over that yet? And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with people? I feel like escalating the situation. That sounds traumatic. I don't know how you dealt with that. No, just like acknowledging other people's pain is so important because otherwise they have to feel like they're not allowed to have it.
Yeah, like my mom still cries over my dad, and it's been 10 years. And
Yeah.
I don't tell her anything. I just let her cry. I just let her have her moment because, I don't know what that feeling is, and I have no right to tell her that, oh, you should get over it. Even if it was my dad, And I felt lost too when he died, but obviously not that kind of loss because it's, it's different. It's a partner. It's somebody that you've spent like more than half your life with, specifically with my mom, obviously. And it's the same thing like when people tell me to get over my hurt and my pain, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to. Like I'm not there yet. I'm not there where I can say that this pain or this hurt has completely left me yet. Like I still cry over, like, again, back to the ex-boyfriend. I still cry over the ex-boyfriend, but I'm not to the point where I was when we first broke up. When we first broke up, I was literally like dead. Like I cried every moment of every day, everything that reminded me of him, even like an Uber. No, it was a Lyft commercial. It was an advertisement.
The commercials, man.
No, not the commercial. The advertisement for Lyft.
Oh, not even like a moving picture, but like...
No, like a picture. And it was not even, it was like an animated photo of a guy with a beard. And my ex-boyfriend has a big bushy beard. I don't know about now because I haven't seen him in a long time. But when we were dating, he always had like this big bushy. And when I mean big bushy, I mean holy mother of Jesus, long beard. the picture had, basically it was like his profile, and I was like, ah! Crying over a freaking Lyft advertisement.
Yes.
So
That's amazing.
over the smallest thing like that, of a drop of a hat, I would cry over him. Now, yeah, I can go out, I can see people that look like him. I've met people that look like him, for that matter. And I don't cry and I don't get so emotional, but I still see the connection. Instead of going like, oh, you're a person, I go, oh, you look like my ex-boyfriend, you know? I still have that connection, but I'm not letting it's like I've worked through it. Instead of holding it in and not working through it and not acknowledging that I have these feelings, I'm better. I feel better. I feel more alive. I've given myself, like, I've learned from it, you know?
Yeah, you've like healed by like sitting with it, and then like grew from it and were able to incorporate it, and instead of just like stuffing it in a box somewhere.
Yeah. And I still get emotional, don't get me wrong. Like, I'll still burst out into into tears.
Well, not completely done yet.
Yeah. But I'm a whole lot better. And that was because I didn't ignore it. As much as people told me to. Like, there's so many people, like one of my best friends from like for years, and she was like, oh my God, it's been like, what, a year? Get over it. Oh my God, by now. And I'm like, no, not by now. And that was 2 years ago. You know, but I still have you guys and my other friends that'll still like call up and be like, hey, I saw this and it reminded me of him, and
yeah, it's just so important to acknowledge those feelings and work through them, and you know, understand them and see where they're coming from. And I mean, it's like pretending that like half your life experience has never happened. You know, combining that with the whole like law of attraction nonsense, like you're just going to end up repeating those things, except you're never going to acknowledge them because you're not allowed to think about them. So you're never going to realize that you're repeating them.
And I have a good example of somebody who did spiritual bypass without knowing that they were doing spiritual bypass. And that's my mom, because my mom has like PTSD and she's borderline personality disorder. So I have to deal with that. And that was not my fault. And I did not create that.
No.
Yes, you did.
So, don't even. But
You created it. It's because you don't really want to go outside. You just say you do.
Right. Because she keeps focusing on it, so it gets perpetuated.
Right.
But my mom grew up in a society that you didn't express your feelings. You didn't go to therapy. You didn't go to a psychologist. Oh, God, no. You'd be pegged as a crazy woman, and nobody would ever want to touch you. You would never get married because everybody would be like, oh, look, that's Mary. She's the crazy one in the town, you know? Mm-hmm. And because of that, she held on to, for those of you that don't know, my mom witnessed her mom commit suicide. And she was 11 years old. My grandmother set herself on fire. Yeah.
That's one of the worst ways, in my opinion. Not that I've tried them out.
Why did she do that?
Is long story short, she was living a very unhappy life with my grandfather, who was very abusive, as far as I know, not physically towards her, but physically towards the children. To her, it was more mental abuse. And the night before she committed suicide, he threatened to kill her on many occasions. And that night, he looked like he was really going to do it. And my mom is what snapped him out of it. And my grandmother, from what my mom says, my grandmother was just like, at that point that she was like, you know something? I don't care anymore. Like, to hell with this. And she, you know, decided that that's what was the way that she was going to leave this world.
Wow.
And my mom didn't tell me because she didn't want that whole, like, because she didn't want to hurt me or like traumatize me, but she didn't tell me because, you know, society tells you not to talk about these things.
Right.
And everybody in my family knew except me. But my mom eventually told me, and I was like, why didn't you tell me this? If you would have told me this earlier, I would have been able to understand why you are the way you are. You know, because all my childhood, I was like, why does my mom act this way? Why does my mom treat me and everybody else this way? Like, I didn't understand where it came from. And people that were in the medical field that are my good friends were like, yeah, something happened to your mom. I don't know what, but something happened to your mom because you're not just born like that. You're not just like that because, there's always a reason. Something traumatic happened to her. And I was like, I don't know. She never tells me anything about her past or nothing bad. She's never told me anything. And when she did, I was like, you could have said something. But because of her not talking to any psychologist or any mental clinical person, whatever you want to call it, like nothing, nada, zippola.
Or people in general.
She is now she has PTSD with anything that's fire related or anything that even remotely is dangerous. A good example of her not her PTSD, but her just paranoia in general is if you've ever seen the movie, Unusual. It's the one about the kids movie. It's a kids movie that's like unusual things that something.
The Lemony.
Yes.
Yeah.
Snickets. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, a series of unfortunate events.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, because I was like, I can't remember this. She's one of, if you've ever seen the movie, the kids' parents die and they go to 3 different households, and one of them is this old lady's household to live with her. When they show up, she's constantly fearful of things that are unusual things to be fearful of. It's like, oh no, don't touch the handle because somehow it can get really hot because it has crystals and it can blow up in your face. And eventually that happens, which is really weird. But it's like weird things like, oh, I don't like being on a boat because there could be leeches and they can just come out of the water and kill you. And you're just like, where the hell do you get this?
Right?
And as I'm watching the movie, I'm like, oh my God, this is my mother.
Wow.
Because my mom's like that. She'll be like, well, what if you're coming home late and your tire goes out? And then when you're going to try to change the tire, some guy comes up and stops and tries to help you. But really, he's a serial killer and he tries to kill you and he hits you over the head with a sledgehammer and kills you. And then it just keeps getting a little bit more graphic. I'm just not going to go there. But it's like all of a sudden every serial killer wants me. It's like, what the hell?
Wow.
But my mom does that. It's like, oh, don't go to when you go to the movie theaters, just make sure that you don't grab when you grab your soda to have your soda and all that stuff, because you don't know your best friend that you've known for over 10 years, who's like a brother to you. They could put a roofie in you and just have you there in the movie. And I'm like, are you serious? Are you seriously telling me this? He could sell you to the sex slave industry. And I'm like, what the?
In the movie theater.
In the movie theater. But that's my mother for you in a nutshell.
Wow.
So you get a lot of that from my mom. And that all is pent up fear that she never got to express because she was taught you can't let anybody know that anything's wrong with you, that you have any unusual feelings or anger or anything like that, because it's all about appearances in the particular culture that we're from. I'm from a Hispanic culture, and many Hispanic cultures are like that. Also, there are other cultures like that as well, but in the culture that I was in, it was like you don't talk about your problems to anybody. Maybe family members, but not really. You keep things to yourself because you don't want your next door neighbors to talk about you. God forbid your next door neighbors or anybody in town say negative things about you that, look down on your person. Because if that's the case, then it shows on everybody in the family and we have to exile you.
Oh.
In that community, in where my mom came from, if you had premarital sex and people found out about it, your family would literally shun you. And they'd be like, no, that's not my daughter. I don't know who you're talking about. It would be like that.
That's where they sent you away to school, but really they were sending you to a convent.
Yeah, stuff like that.
For the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, that's not just Hispanic culture. That was just the 50s.
Yeah. It really was.
Honestly. And that's still the way it is today with a lot of things. You're not allowed to talk about if you're struggling financially or if you're having mental health issues or if you're having trouble grieving the loss of your loved one. People are not okay with it. And they're like, you need to stop talking about this thing. People aren't comfortable talking to their friends and stuff about it. Of course, we also completely hold the individual responsible for all of their circumstances. So if you're struggling financially, that's because you are a immoral, unworthy person. And if you would just be a better person, then maybe you wouldn't struggle.
And all these things wouldn't happen to you, Maria.
I can agree with being responsible for your problems. I can definitely agree with that. I'm a big person on like, hey, I fucked up, my responsibility. But when it comes to things that I cannot control and somebody saying like, oh, that's your fault. And I'm like, how is it my fault if the economy got tanked?
Right?
What the hell did I do that the government and like Wall Street and all this shit just went, you know something? Maria's a bitch. Let's just fuck her whole entire life. Like,
I can
what?
tell you why, Maria. It's because your negative energies conglomerated with other people's negative energies, and there was too much negative energy, and that's what brought it down. And us light workers and love and lighter people are always trying to raise that vibration that you little fuckers are bringing down.
And that's why we have to do these like worldwide meditations.
Yeah, all the time in Sedona, okay?
Just to counteract all the negative, yeah.
That's why I drink kombucha, to keep my body alkaline so that I can keep these higher vibrations so people like you don't ruin the world.
Yeah, all that stuff. That's also why I stand on my head.
Right.
Because I have to keep my crown chakra open, so only...
Totally open, all the time.
Yeah. Only yoga poses that involve headstands can do that.
My third eye is pulsing right now.
Do you want to get that checked?
No, I like it that way. Taking all the positive emotions.
Do you need to put your amethyst crystal headband on right now so you can like fully harness that power?
I do. I want to put. I need my jade and my rose quartz too, so that I can fully take on the light of love. Because being around Maria's aura is really, really bumming me out now.
I hope you remember to charge them this last full moon.
I did 3 times.
Good.
Because it's always the rule of 3, right?
Right. Everything 3 times. We're just going to go to the max here.
It's okay because Maria fired us earlier, so we're good.
Yeah.
What? Oh, totally. Yeah, I fired you guys, yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're like, I need to talk to you later, but not over text. I'm like, oh, crap, I'm fired.
Don't you just hate it when like you're in a relationship and it's like your significant other is like, we need to talk, and you're like, oh god.
What did I do?
Like, you're like, what did I do? We need to talk. Oh my god. So what do you want for lunch? What?
Yeah, we need to talk. We are having a big brunch on Sunday, and we need to pick a place.
This is Maria when we started this podcast. Okay, guys, I'm ready, and also I need to talk to you, but not over text, so we get on the call. Charlene goes, she's gonna fire us. And I was like, oh shit.
Something happened.
She's pregnant. Oh my god.
What is our takeaway here?
Well, I would like some In-N-Out.
I had a burger last night because of Maria, and now I want In-N-Out.
Now I want French fries.
Again. French fries sound good too.
I know, right? Doesn't that just sound good? And some shakes to go with that.
Oh my god,
French fries and shakes.
Stop talking.
Super does.
I'm trying to do the keto thing, man. Not helping.
I think we were talking tacos earlier, so I think...
Oh, tacos. Oh, but that's my takeaway. We're talking about food, right?
Right, inside out.
Eating those feelings so that all the positive feelings can keep coming up.
Right, we're getting takeaway. That's what we're talking about.
Right.
Right, yes. So I guess it's like really important that people actually like acknowledge and sit with their feelings and stuff, and realize that it's okay to have them and acknowledge them, and to like, yeah, they're normal and natural, and everybody has them, even if they don't acknowledge that they have them. And you really only control how you react to the feelings that you have and the actions that you take based on them. You can't control your feelings. It's bad for you to even try.
Yeah, and shadow work is a thing. Like, there's this really great book. It's by Hay House, and I don't know who wrote it, but it's called Mirror Work. And I was just looking through it the other day. And if you really want to get in touch with your shadow side, that's a really good book. It's all it is are little rituals or little things you can do that take like less than an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Get really in touch with yourself. They're pretty cool.
And there's like 80 million like Pinterest
Oh yeah, totally.
posts that are like 30 days of getting to know yourself or whatever. And those are great for that kind of thing too.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I love those. Whenever I'm like, I need to like sit and do some work on me, I have like a whole pin board full of them. I'm like, I'm just gonna pull up a crying journal prompt right now. And that's what I'm gonna do tonight. I'm just gonna cry a lot. I put on my sad music playlist and we just get down to it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that sounds great.
That does sound good.
I know. I'm so on board with that right now.
Well, sometimes, you know, our society doesn't support having those feelings yet. We're working on that, literally right now. Doesn't support us expressing those feelings and dealing with them in the moment in the healthiest way. So we have to find other times and moments to deal with them appropriately instead of just stuffing them.
And if you have those feelings, like if you've gone through something traumatic, work through them. Like, do the shadow work. You know, don't shy away from it. And even if like your friends are like, or family or whomever are like, you know, you should be over it by now. It's like, no, you're over it when you are ready. And even if it takes you 2-3 years, it doesn't matter. You work through your feelings and you do the work, but you don't bottle it up and ignore it, because the more you do that, the worse it's going to get. And you don't want that for yourself. You don't want that for the people around you. You know, the healthier you is the person who works through it and actually acknowledges it.
The end.
Thank you for listening to the We Witches 3 podcast. For show notes and links, please go to www.wewitches3.com.